All right, hello, Tide fans. Welcome to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Sean Taylor, here with Jimmy. Sitting next to me, Mo's on Zoom. How you doing, Mo?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic.
Good, Mo.
Coming off a big SEC road win, kind of what we thought we expected to win that game, and we did. A little scary there for a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk some about the details of that, but not necessarily just scary from Bryce Young being injured, but scary in that third quarter, as Nick Saban would say it was pretty bad, pretty ugly. But yeah, a road win is a road win. We'll take it. I like some of the things that I saw. Didn't get to see a lot of it. Jimmy, we're playing softball out in Las Vegas. Mo, you'll have to maybe carry us a little bit. I know that's rare for you to carry us, but you'll have to carry us a little bit.
I'm used to it. I did some stretching. My back feels good.
All right, we're good.
So Maurice, give us your synopsis. Give us your overview. Tell us what you think.
Well, honestly, I said this 2 years ago. I think we are the best team in the country. I thought our offensive line did very well. I mean, Gibbs had over 200 yards rushing. There were holes that all three of us could have ran through together. I thought the defense played well. The only, of course, the obvious thing, we lost our composure in the third quarter. Heck, I mean, 7 or 8 plays is all we had.
-1 yards.
It was just, and somebody I was watching it with said, well, they're falling apart since Bryce is out. I said, Bryce doesn't play defense.
Right.
And I saw the defensive line getting some push against them in the third quarter, which was disappointing. And then all of a sudden it kind of changed. They woke up, which I think had a lot to do with Milroe breaking one off, kind of got their swagger back, but stinking snap on a punt that went about 10 yards to the right. I didn't understand that. Just like I said, I think they were losing their composure, and hopefully something like that woke them up to where they're going to be used to it from this point going forward, to face a little adversity and not kind of buckle underneath it.
Yeah. Jimmy?
Yeah. So I when we got back from our trip, I was able to watch the game last night kind of late before I went to bed. And so, yeah, a few takes for me, like you mentioned. I mean, it was a road win in the SEC against a fairly decent opponent. I mean, it wasn't just a week ago they were in the top 10. And it hadn't been for a couple of fluky plays, they still would have been in the top 10. So, I was, pleased with how we played. I don't know what the deal is with the third quarter, how we kind of just walked through that third quarter. I mean, that's happened.
We have in a few games this year.
I mean, it's crazy how that happens. We get those big leads, and all of a sudden we disappear for a quarter. In this case, it was third quarter. Receivers, I saw several drops, which is kind of disappointing. Just when we thought we were kind of turning the corner with our receivers, our young receivers. My gosh, right here.
Each one of them had drops that they should have, that were easily catchable.
So that was a little disappointing. Again, the third quarter was disappointing, but man, if you can win on the road in the SEC with basically playing your backup quarterback for a majority of the game, I mean, that says something. So I was pleased with how we responded, ultimately at the end.
Yeah, I was trying to, we were playing softball at the same time that kickoff, and I was trying to, look on my phone between innings and just kind of see what was going on. Clearly we played really well early, 28-0, right there to the end of the halftime. I thought, from what I could see from watching it on my phone, I thought the defense was all over the place. I mean, we were flying to the ball. DBs were knocking down passes, looked like we had really good coverage. We were getting pressure on the quarterback. And listen, to hold them to as few yards as they had in the first half and to keep KJ Jefferson in check, I thought that was a really, really good job by the defense. Now, they did put together a drive right there before halftime, but that was expected. They're a quality football team with a quarterback who's been playing really well with some confidence. So, I was impressed. Then again, the third quarter happens and we did help them with respect to that. I mean, I don't think that score really clearly, states what it was. We were down a few points right there. The snap, we missed the snap, we lose Bryce Young. We give them the ball first and goal from the 2 or 3, after the punt. So you're not the same as driving 75 yards on the defense for a touchdown, but.
Well, there was 2 plays that I remember. One obviously was that snap. They gave him the ball on the 2-yard line, right?
Yeah.
The other one, it was a 3rd and long. They may have been in long field goal range, like 3rd and 15. And man, we had 3 guys that were on Jefferson, the quarterback, and he was literally like he was about to fall down. He threw a pass that we were defending, and we just missed the deflection by like just a eyelash. Of course, again, that's part of it. They executed, they made the play, but we were literally just that close to knocking that ball down,
right.
Having a 4th and 15, kicking a long field goal. Then like I say, the snap. So really, you take those 2 plays away. I mean, it's a 5 touchdown kind of game, versus a 3. So, yeah. But that's kind of what I remember seeing in that 3rd quarter. That was the biggest difference in why they were able to close that gap like they did.
Maurice, you made a statement just a second ago. You said, you don't know what was going on in the 3rd quarter, and hopefully we can figure that out before we play against someone that will really take advantage of that. Fortunately, we were up big, but you're right. I mean, Maurice, if we play like that against Georgia, against Tennessee even, it could be a different story in this conversation. Or A&M this week.
No, not A&M. A&M is 108th in offense with their offensive guru, genius coach. Their offensive line stinks. They can't find a quarterback to do what he wants them to do. I would be surprised if we get in a situation where we're starting to get a little worried because Arkansas had the 4th leading rusher in the country, and they had KJ Jefferson. And they first half, they looked frustrated. Like you said, Sean, our defense was flying to the ball.
Yeah.
And we were getting push in that first half and in the 4th quarter, just with going with 4. I mean, our defensive line was doing a heck of a job, I thought. I don't know. I guess they stayed in the locker room for the 3rd quarter, but we were getting there. But if we do something like that against a Tennessee or an LSU, yeah, it could make it a difference. I don't want to jump ahead, but I don't think A&M, as far as their offense goes, is at that level by any means.
Wait, am I the only one talking about this past game and our offense? Am I the only one that thinks we're more efficient, especially running the football, when Seth McLaughlin is centering? I said that right? Isn't that his last name?
Yeah.
McLaughlin. Man, it seems like when he's in the game, like when he stepped up last year, our offense looks completely different. I mean, go back, because I watched some of those plays, some of those plays that we broke for big games. Dude, he's like the person that made the key block right there in the middle of it. And I don't know what it is, but I like that guy snapping the ball to us. I don't know why he's not a starter. I'm not there at practice, but we seem to move the ball more efficiently or more consistently, I guess, when he's centering that. I don't know. Am I the only one to think that?
I mean, listen, he did a good job last year, as you mentioned, when he, came in and had to snap there for a few games. I think Dalcourt's done a good job, but again, I'm not there. I don't know what practice looks like. I don't know what their knowledge is with respect to calling the blocking schemes and that sort of thing. But that is something to continue to watch and see, how they continue to shuffle that offensive line around. I know they've made, some different substitutions throughout the year with Cohen and with Booker, so it will be.
Did you see that? I mean, did you pay attention to what he was doing there at the line of scrimmage?
I've always liked him as well, ever since he had to step in last year. The word is he has a bit of a mean streak in him when he plays. He showed that when he played against Georgia in the SEC championship game. I just thought, the RPO was killing them. And that there were, like I said, it was the line. Now they had a poor defensive scheme because they had zero support once, Gibbs got past that first level.
Mm-hmm.
But there were, the holes were not just caused by the direction or the reads of the defense. They were created because offensive line did one heck of a job. I thought was, in my opinion, was the offensive line's best game of the year.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. We're going to need it. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back and talk about that a little bit, but we get several things to discuss. But hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Beam is delivering gig speed internet to 100% of our network. But should you get a gig? Well, if you want to download an album in a blink, video conference in 4K, make virtual reality more real, power all of your home smart devices at the same time, and still have bandwidth to stream everything without buffering, then yeah, you gotta get a gig. So call, click, or visit and get it. Because when you gotta get a gig, you gotta go with Beam. Bringing East Alabama more.
I know Beam. I used to watch cartoons and sports on their TV, and now I use their internet.
Take it from Javion Cohen, all SEC team offensive lineman.
Beam. It's the choice of champions.
Like Javion said, it is the internet choice of champions. Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. We were talking right there before the break about production offensively. We've said over and over again, from both sides of the ball, it starts up front. We've seen some shuffling, some different, personnel groups with respect to the offensive line. Do you think they finally found? Do you think with the production from this past weekend and the success we've had running against Arkansas, do you think they finally found the right mix?
Well, obviously our starting center wasn't there, so you got to expect him to be back in there, right? Wasn't he sick? Did I say he was sick or something ill? So I'm going to be curious again how well we perform when him back snapping the ball. I think everything else, I like what we're seeing, on both sides of the center. But so I'm going to be curious again how we perform as a unit when he's back in the lineup.
Maurice,
I'll be curious too, because Saban is one of those coaches that's loyal to the starter. But
true.
I agree with Jimmy. Mark this date down. I agree with Jimmy. I think we looked a little bit better.
That's like twice this year, I think.
I think it is twice.
Twice this year. I don't know. You're slipping.
I gotta go take a bath.
I do believe Saban is, loyal, maybe to a fault sometimes. At the end of the day, he has an idea of what it takes to have success, and maybe he saw some of that. Maybe they'll use Dalcourt in another position. I don't know, but it was good to see us be able to run the football better than what we've seen in the past few games, because we've all been talking about, we needed to be able to run it better. And I even saw numerous times in the little bit that I was able to watch it that we were running Gibbs between tackles. He was running between tackles a lot, so that's, and he had some production, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, he did. It was tough sledding, but when he went off tackle is where he made his gashes. And I don't want to jinx anything. I'm just telling you what I've read today. His name, Gibbs, is now being mentioned in the Heisman. So and he's got numbers.
Yeah, he's got some numbers. So that's good. We were talking about, before the show, we were talking about, the injury and Bryce. And listen, what a great job by Jalen Milroe. I said to Jimmy when we were playing and that he had come in, he got some really meaningful snaps. It wasn't mop-up duty. It was not, we're up by 40 or 50 and he's getting some time where he's handing the ball off. I mean, he got meaningful snaps, especially when, they cut it to 5, I believe, 4 or 5, he had to perform. And man, what a big play on 3rd and 15. And he breaks one for 77 yards, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's good enough to get you a first down. But I will say, I thought in his first couple of series, and it's understandable, you're thrown into it, got some butterflies. He looked uncertain in the pocket, but then as the game progressed, you could tell he got a little bit more comfortable. Now, the one thing I've always said about dual threat quarterbacks is they love the opportunity to show their legs.
Sure.
And I think as soon as he saw that, and it was wide open, and then when he got out there, you said, no linebacker is going to catch him because he's fastest player on our team, and thought he would get into the end zone, but his foot went out about the 4, whatever. But that was a turning point for him to where I think he felt, I've got this.
Right.
I can do this.
I'm with you on that, because that play to me was the play of the game. Because again, it was 28-24. That whole third quarter thing happened. They had us backed up 15, and he takes off and he breaks it. And so I thought that was the play of the game. And I'm like, I thought from that point on, he looked like he looked more comfortable.
Well, if you read what Sam Pittman said, he said it was the turning point in the game.
Yeah.
He said they had gained momentum. They, scored 23 unanswered points, had us pinned on 3rd and 15, had done a good job leading up to that. And then Milroe breaks one for 77, and he said it went downhill from there.
Yeah, but let me just say this. And again, obviously the man did his job this past weekend. He's probably the most athletic player on the team. I mean, he looks like a stinking machine out there, right? But I mean, look, let's just say what it is. Let's throw it out there. I mean, he's not. To me, I wasn't impressed with his passing. Let me just go and throw it out there. I mean, he underthrew that one ball. I thought his arm was stronger. I don't know what that was about. I mean, I thought he looked real shaky. Like I say, whether it was not confident or what, but I mean, his passing. I mean, in other words, we need Bryce back for sure.
Well, we're
not going to win a lot of games.
He's probably a little nervous. Probably didn't want to make a mistake. It was a big game. It was close at one point. He probably didn't want to make a mistake. I think that the Joker can throw the football. We've seen him throw the football. In that situation, that was probably a little tough, So he'll get more reps. He'll get more experience. He'll get some this week. We don't know what's going to happen with Bryce. He'll get some this week. But
yeah, well, I again, if he does play, I'll be curious what kind of package they have, because I know that's another thing too. But still, when he had an opportunity to throw the ball, he just, like I say, I don't know. I wasn't that impressed with his passing as much as I was his running, for obvious reasons.
If he plays, which I'm guessing that he will be starting. And Sean, you've had shoulder injuries. I really haven't had any throwing. I don't know what it's like to get it well. A sprained AC joint, I don't know, but I would imagine that Bryce probably still can't throw with any comfort. So I would think that Milroe is going to play. And if we do, I would RPO the ever-living life of A&M.
Yes.
So,
I mean, it is difficult. I mean, I've had both of my AC joints operated on, so it's challenging. But as Jimmy said, I do agree. And Maurice, I think you may be in agreement as well after hearing what you said about A&M. I'm not so sure that Bryce has to play this weekend.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't have to do it all as the quarterback when you're surrounded with talent. You got to get it to the correct guys, and there's plenty of guys around him. Listen, he threw a doggone little screen pass to JoJo Earl, who, takes, I think it was his first catch of the year for a touchdown. Those are the types of things that you got to do. Those are the little passes that'll give him confidence. It was quick. It was short. It was a screen pass.
Right. Well, obviously then the pressure is going to be solely on my man Bob. Especially if Milroe is going to be the starter and going to play the entire game, what is Bob going to do
to get the guys the ball?
To get those guys the ball quick. So I'm curious to see how Bob's going to look this week. What do you think, Mo?
He's putting it on you, Mo. He's
4th in the country in total offense.
Hey, easy now. I understand where we are with that.
He don't want you to get into his stats with Jimmy.
I get it. And Pete, as much as I've said stuff, and I bumped into a friend of mine down here, and he was getting on Pete as well. I was like, well, I think right now we're number 1 or number 2 defense, but how can you complain? And I think this defense, they're seasoned. They are getting more and more comfortable with every game. And
I agree.
With comfort comes some anger when you show up at the ball. So
yeah, I agree. Man, I love watching Helams and Battle come downhill, because they will come downhill and lower the boom on you. And
Yes.
I really like the number 32, Dominique Lawson, I think's his
There's a
name.
lot of
I mean,
guys
Moody played really well.
I thought actually, and speaking of individual players, I thought Toto had his worst game, honestly. He had that
Stupid penalty.
He had that stupid penalty. It looked like he was out of position on a couple of their runs that they broke for 10, 12 yards, whatever, a couple of times. So I thought he had his worst game, and we still looked really good as a unit.
People stepped up and played. But that's part of being a unit. And I think you're right, Maurice. I think they're starting to get even more confident. So we'll pause right there. We'll take another quick break, and we'll talk a little bit about the defense, and then, of course, the big upcoming expected game with Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher versus Nick Saban.
I thought you were talking about stats with Jimmy.
We'll do that.
Okay,
We'll do that in a second. Jim, hey, don't forget, folks. We're gonna have some stats with Jimmy. I don't want to hurt his feelings, or make sure he gets his time. We're gonna give him his time. But hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
What is community? Is it a neighborhood? The businesses and homes inside it? Maybe community isn't just a place. Maybe it's a state of mind that when we care together, cheer together, we're closer to what really counts. At Beam, we're finding new ways to bring us all closer. And you'll find us right out there with you, because community is always on our mind. Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
All right, Tide fans, welcome back. We were talking right there about just the defense, how well we think they're playing. We knew they were going to be really good, but man, I tell you, they are really good. And yes, Maurice, they are playing with more confidence, which does equal when they get to the ball, they're coming with something. They're not just they're not just getting there and dragging you down. They're coming to hit you, and I really like to see that, especially from the DBs and safeties.
And speaking of individual play, we haven't really seen the transfer that was supposed to be the All-American have much time other than
Ricks.
Ricks. Did he even play Saturday?
I didn't see him out there.
Does that mean he's transferring out after this year? And I mean, I hope not. He's a talent, but that just tells you how good those guys are that are in front of him that are like freshmen and sophomores.
Love watching Terrion Arnold, number 3. He's really good, and of course Kool-Aid's getting into his groove.
Oh my gosh,
he's getting into his groove, and they threw at him a lot. At least from what I saw early, they threw at him a lot, and he did a really good job in coverage. So really like seeing that. Jimmy, let's have some stat time. You got stats for us, Jimmy?
I think I do.
Stats with Jimmy, Maurice.
I'm ready. I'm listening.
Fans. Of course, as usual, we're going to start on the offensive side, and I'll again try to run through these as quick as I can so we can talk about this upcoming game. Scoring offense, we actually bumped up just like a tenth of a point. We're still averaging basically 48 points per game, which is second in the league, which we stayed there. We actually moved up a couple of spots nationally to 4th in scoring offense. Rushing offense, 251 a game, which is second in the league, which is up from 3rd last week. And we're now 7th in the country, rushing yards per game, which is up from 10th the week before. Passing, we were 273 a game, which again, because of Bryson getting hurt, but we actually moved up a spot in the league from 6th to 5th. But we did drop nationally from 33rd to 37th in passing. Total offense, we're at 525 a game, moved up to 2nd in the league, and moved up to 4th nationally, where we were 3rd and 6th, respectively, in that category a week before. Third down conversions, I mentioned in that, but that keeps us on the field. We jumped up from 44% the week before total for the year to 49. We're almost at 50% third down conversions, which is good for actually just 3rd in the league and 22nd nationally. Both of those were big jumps. We were 8th the week before and 50th nationally in converting third downs. Now we're 3rd and 22nd, again, almost converting 50% of those. Defense, we mentioned the defense. We've been talking about them all year. Obviously, we had more points scored on us this past week. We're giving up 11 points a game now, which is good for 2nd. We were 1st. Now we dropped to 2nd in the league. We were 3rd overall. Now we're 5th in the country, but still, I'll take that all day long. Regarding scoring defense, rushing defense, 87 yards a game. But again, it was a little drop as far as per game stats, but we're still number 1 in rushing defense in the league, and we're 11th overall. Passing defense, we're at 149 a game, first in the league and fourth overall. Total defense, we are at 236 a game, which is first in the league and fifth in the country. So we have the number 1 ranked defense in the league, and the number 2 ranked offense in the league, and the number 4th ranked offense in the country, and the 5th ranked defense in the country, which is not too bad.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Third down conversions for the opponent. We're giving up 21%, which is first in the league and second in the country. Again, I'll take that stat all day long, because that means you're getting off the field and putting offense right back on there. Of course, I've got to mention it. We are, how many teams in the conference?
In
In
SEC,
SEC?
14.
And
14th.
we're 13th in penalties now. That stats for the sheriff, and we're penalized 71 yards a game, which is good for 13th and 112th nationally.
Wow.
Still just blows my mind. And then a couple other things. Want to give a couple of shout outs. Of course, we mentioned Gibbs earlier. Right now, he has, of course, he has, let's see, only player in the SEC with multiple 60 and 70-yard runs. He ranks 5th nationally in yards per rush at almost 9 yards a carry. All right. And we actually lead the country right now in plays of 70 yards or more. And then one other shout out, we talked about Kool-Aid defensively. Man, that joker, every time he receives a punt, I'm thinking he's about to take it to the house, right? He just added to that. He has 321 yards total of punt returns, and there's not even anybody even close to him in the country right now as far as his return yards and what he's averaging per game. And I absolutely love that. So anyway, so just want to throw those 2 shout outs to those 2 guys.
Maurice.
As far as penalties, we get enough flags to start an amusement park every week. So
That's
we'll
for
have-
sure.
Exactly.
Maurice, we got Jimbo Fisher and A&M coming to the house this weekend. Primetime game, 8 o'clock.
Right.
You believe that Texas A&M does not have it?
They don't have close to it.
They don't have
They
it.
have started, all the freshmen, which this is kind of odd to me. He has played almost all the freshmen that he signed last year in that number 1 recruiting class. I think at one time he had all 11 freshmen on defense on the field, which he sits there and moans about, well, we're young. Brother, you've been there 5 years. If you're young, that's your fault.
Right.
You've had a chance to build it. His offense is, like I said, ranked 105, 108. They can't move the ball for anything. Their offensive line is terrible. It should be a field day for our defense. Will Anderson should add a few numbers to his sack total. And if you think that there's not some payback involved from the trash talk, think again.
I'm sorry, John. I think it should be a bloodbath, like Mo mentioned. But we got to remember too, though. I mean, they had just come off a couple of losses last year. We were a big heavy favorite going on the road, and we got beat. They're coming off a couple of losses this year. Now, granted, I know they haven't looked the same in those losses, so we still got to be careful. I hope our guys don't read into that junk that they read into last year. But you're right, man. I think we ought to dominate the game on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I hope Maurice and Jimmy that we have an imprint in our minds, especially on the defensive side, of what took place last year.
Right.
I hope that and I firmly believe that Will Anderson is the guy who will keep us with that focus.
And it's something that I can't remember what it was. It was August or maybe in July that Will Anderson commented on when asked about A&M. And it was one that was like, we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there is a serious axe to grind. And to me, Jimbo, you you opened yourself up to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I read today where Will Anderson said he don't have time to worry about, tweets and what Jimbo Fisher's saying. He's there to play
Right.
football. And I believe that's the mentality that we'll take in there. At least I hope it is. All right. So Maurice, we got a little bit of time. What is your prediction for Saturday, 8 p.m. Texas A&M at Bryant Denny?
What's the line? Y'all know?
I didn't even see a line.
Actually,
I think if I remember 24.5, it's going to be something ugly like 55-10.
55-10.
I'm with you on that, Mo. And I don't care who the quarterback is. I think we can run the ball on them. Depending on what Bob does with the passing game, I think they can't stop us, won't stop us. Defensively, I don't know if they'll score on us, honestly. Didn't we beat them like 59-0 a few years ago? I mean, I think it could be something like that. It should be something like that, honestly.
The production from us will be dependent on who is going to start. I do believe we'll still win the football game. I'm going to say 49-14, 49-10, something like that. I believe it'll be over before the fourth quarter starts.
Right. Great.
So, again, a primetime game, 8 p.m. Looking forward to a big night. I know that the guys are anticipating Texas A&M coming in there. They've got a little bit more motivation, even though they talk about, intrinsic motivation and external motivation, those types of things. I believe they'll be ready and we'll show with our action, like Will Anderson says. So be good to talk about next week. So we'll see you here next week, Tide fans. Channel 207 on Beam. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.